Idaho judge denies Bryan Kohberger defense motion to suppress key evidence. Kaylee's father, Steve Goncalves, says he supports death by firing squad. That and more coming up. What up? What up? Hopefully, you guys can hear me loud and clear. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. We are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. And let's just jump right in.
Turning now to developing news in the Idaho murders trial. The judge denied a defense motion to throw out all important DNA evidence that links Bryan Kohberger to the crime scene. If this evidence had been tossed, it could have seriously impacted the prosecution's case against the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students in an apartment near campus in 2022.
Fox 13's Jennifer Dowling is digging deeper tonight into the judge's order and joins us now with the details. Jen.
Good evening. In the motion, the defense attorney asked the judge to throw out some of the most crucial evidence against Kohberger in the case, including evidence related to DNA found on a knife sheath. The judge told the defense he didn't agree with their arguments, handing the prosecution and the victims' families what they consider a victory in the case as it moves towards trial this summer.
We're not just talking about his DNA happened to be found in, a dresser drawer or something. It was found on a knife sheath where 4 people were killed by a knife.
At the heart of this recent ruling, the genetic material found on a knife sheath at the home where University of Idaho students Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were brutally stabbed to death back in November 2022. Investigators used family tree databanks and trash collected from Kohberger's family home to match him as a suspect. The defense arguing in their motion that Kohberger's Kohberger's constitutional protection against unreasonable search and seizure was violated because his DNA was collected without a warrant. The order stating he seeks to suppress all evidence obtained through these searches, as well as all evidence obtained through subsequent warrants as fruit of the poisonous tree.
Well, Your Honor, I don't think any of us can go out of our houses without leaving DNA all over the place.
But the judge indicated at a previous hearing he struggled with that argument.
Yeah, because as far back as I can remember, law enforcement could dig through your trash, or they can follow behind you, and if they see you flick a cigarette or throw out a soda can, they can get your DNA. It's been that way for a long time. That's the way I remember it.
I struggle with the idea that DNA left at a crime scene, that there's any expectation of privacy by someone who leaves DNA at a crime scene, that DNA can't be, as you say, searched without a warrant to establish identity.
The state.
Yeah, notice that the way he phrased it to establish identity. That's it.
Also disputed that Kohberger's constitutional rights were violated.
We're talking about a murder scene in a house to which he has asserted no connection whatsoever. 4 victims to which he has asserted no connection whatsoever.
Ultimately, the judge found there is no reasonable expectation of privacy when it comes to evidence collected at a crime scene, writing in the order, by effectively disclaiming knowledge or ownership of the sheath, defendant necessarily abandons any privacy interest in the DNA it contains. And DNA shed is no different than latent fingerprints. Legal analyst Ann Bremner says it could still lead to an appeal.
Every little thing and every big thing that you raise, you have to think about an appeal. Like, when we may lose this, but that's an appeal. You know, this was a good issue, and we may not win on that, but it's an appeal.
The Gonsalves family recently told Fox and Friends they'd continue the fight for justice.
Her only mistake was to go to bed that night, and somebody broke into her home and killed her.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up to think of it that way, but that's exactly what happened.
The Gonsalves family also issued a statement saying it's always a double-edged sword waiting. You want the right decisions to be made, but you also want them to be made quickly. We are thankful to the court for a timely decision and appreciate the work prosecution has put in thus far. In the big picture of life, justice is just moments away. And had the judge sided with the defense, everything the police found after identifying Kohberger through DNA would have also been thrown out, including the cell phone pings that placed Kohberger near the victim's home and security camera video showing a car pictured near the crime scene matching Kohberger's personal vehicle. Kohberger's jury trial is set to start in August. Prosecutors said they will seek the death penalty if he's convicted. Reporting in the newsroom, Jennifer Dowling, Fox 13 News.
This case has seen multiple twists and turns in the past month, and we've been following all of the developments in our ongoing documentary and podcast series, Bryan Kohberger, Inside the Idaho Murders. Episodes are streaming now on the Fox Local app and wherever you get your podcasts.
So what say you? Welcome in, Blue-Eyed Trucker, this account, Samir. Why not the judge consider the DNA was planted by another person just after the murder to link BK to get away with it? Isn't it also a note that DNA is on something movable? Okay, well, first of all, I think you'd have to find out who that somebody was. Who would want to frame Bryan Kohberger? And then secondly, how did they get close enough to him to obtain the knife sheath or his DNA? And again, how did they perfectly match and time the event with him going on his own volition to go look at the stars? I mean, that's not likely. But I mean, you can go that route if you want to. We're not here to tell you what to do. For some reason, I want to say August 25th, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me. Don't quote me on that. Necessary Evil says, I think I already made a pretty good case for his guilt. Well, I mean, the case is his DNA, right? That's it. his timeline and his DNA. That's all you need. Good to see you, Mustang. V. Marie. Melissa Wildcard, right field. Melissa says August of this year. Detail October, they're saying. Yeah, I don't doubt it'll be moved again, for sure. Good to see you, Boston. Stephanie, welcome in. This account. I'm so tired of Bryan Kohberger. He's got a lot of evidence that sucks, DNA, etc. Scary as heck. Yeah, I mean, we forget that if he's the guilty person, think about what he did. I mean, sometimes we get desensitized to it all, but I mean, really take a moment to really think about what he did. You know, an innocent person, a young person at that. You know, we're not talking about somebody who lived a dangerous life and took a lot of risk. You know, they were living what was just going to be one small chapter of something much greater, right? And that was just taken away. Not only was it taken away at the hands of some weird, creepy criminology student who's sitting there plotting and scheming and fantasizing, and I'm sure just like many psychopaths considered taking their own lives at one time and said, you know what, I'm not going to do that because I'm a coward. I'm going to go do something much worse. So, I mean, to lose a loved one at the hands of that, it's just, there's just something so dark about it. Thanks. I appreciate that. V says another voucher that thinks he is smarter than everyone else. Yeah. And the thing is, if they were smart, they wouldn't kill another human being because they would know what that meant and the ripple effect that it would have. So murderers are already proving that they're not as smart as they think they are, or they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. At least the vast majority, in my opinion. I'm sure there's a small percentage who, you know, kind of fall in there with the Ted Bundy, the BTK, somebody who can kind of evade capture for a certain amount of time while playing that cat and mouse. Son of Sam. I mean, he didn't seem like he was some kind of genius, but another douchebag that thinks he is smarter than everyone else. I mean, imagine if he didn't drop the knife sheath, where would we be today? They would have checked his car. Like you were just another suspicious car. What were you doing? Oh, I was just out looking at the stars. Okay, well, we checked out your car. You're clean. I mean, would they still get him on the cell phone data? Do they even need the knife sheath? I think they do. Yeah, let's continue this. I think I have 2 more videos.
University of Idaho students. Yesterday, a judge denied a defense request to exclude important DNA evidence. It is a striking victory for the prosecution before Kohberger's trial starts this summer. He has pleaded not guilty. Jonathan Vigliotti has more.
Just months before Bryan Kohberger is set to go to trial for allegedly stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death in 2022, a judge Wednesday.
That's a really good point there, Candace. Welcome in, by the way. Says, whenever I see a defense lawyer try to suppress a piece of evidence, I think that must be very incriminating evidence. Exactly. Yep.
They denied the defense's request to throw out key evidence investigators say they used to link Kohberger to the murders.
There is an expectation of privacy in one's DNA that society is willing to recognize.
The defense had argued law enforcement violated Kohberger's constitutional rights by using genetic genealogy databases to help identify him as a suspect. Investigators say they compared DNA recovered from a knife sheath found at the crime scene to samples submitted by the public for ancestry tests. However, the murder weapon has not been found.
What they're taking issue with is essentially the manner and means by which investigators went about connecting Kohberger's DNA to the knife sheath DNA. Attorneys are saying that that was against internal policies of the FBI, which the court found may be true, but it wasn't illegal.
Investigators say they also linked DNA from the crime scene to Kohberger by comparing it to DNA found in the trash outside his family's Pennsylvania home. Defense attorneys are...
Honestly, guys, all it takes is his cell phone data, his timeline, and that knife sheath. And I mean, that's a slam dunk. There's no question about it. It would be impossible to set somebody up in that fashion. There's no way you're going to time him. You would have to be like controlling him and his every movement, or watching him and say like, oh, well, there goes Bryan Kohberger. You know, I just saw him drive by. He's back. Let's commit the murder and we'll blame it on him.
Argued they did not have a warrant to search the property.
They essentially staked out the scene and was able to identify the father DNA of the person that was on the sheath. This will be precedent setting, but I'm not surprised that this is how the judge ruled in this case.
If convicted, Kohberger could face the death penalty. For CBS Mornings, I'm Jonathan Vigliotti.
All right, so we'll have a brief discussion.
We're just looking at the pictures of the people we should be talking about tonight.
Genetic material found on a...
Don't want to jump the gun there. So we're going to hear from Steve Goncalves and his work trying to further the initiative for a firing squad. So I found this very interesting, like his whole tone. What's up, wife Lilith? Welcome in. What's up, Brett? My guy was shopping at the market in rubber gloves. He was walking around his home. So he traveled what? A few thousand miles. What was it? 5 maybe? Can't remember. It was a long way. Didn't you look it up, Ryan? What's up? Welcome in, Ryan. Melissa? Sparky. Welcome in. We don't know any of those things about him to be true, though, to be fair. What things specifically? What's up, J. Ray? But I mean, this is huge. You know, this is a devastating blow to Bryan Kohberger's case. I thought they were going to have some luck maybe on the way that they were going after his DNA, but I mean, if you guys are going to participate in those genealogy programs, I mean, I think you have to sign a waiver, right? Or even just one of your family members. I mean, we have a pretty good idea of what kind of person he was. A lot of folks have come forward. You know, people who grew up with him, they say he was bullied. He kind of would hide with his headphones on all day, just trying to block it out. Somebody that he went on a Tinder date with came forward and said he was extremely awkward, and at one point began tickling her. And then when she asked him, "Hey, please stop doing that," he basically tried to gaslight her in real time. It was like, "I'm not tickling you." And just his career path, you know what I mean? It would be fine if he was just trying to be like maybe Dr. Ramsland. You know, that's a very tough road to take. You know, she's very accomplished and a very impressive woman. We don't know if she's a serial killer. But why is it that their number one suspect just happens to be going down this path, this Dennis Rader path, really is what I call it. He's following right in his footsteps. Is that a coincidence? Welcome in, bad actors. Good to see you. Lila says Bryan Kohberger is creepy as fuck. He has those Steve Buscemi eyes. To Maddie at that time, too. I forgot about that. Also, and this is from Bad Actors, then he sent her a message saying that she had good birthing hips. Yeah, I don't recommend that. I don't think that that's a good pickup line. It's just creepy. Something a creep would say. Oh, and that's a good point brought up by Riot here. Says, I'd love to hear from the classmate he helped install a security camera in her apartment. So he's being accused of, I guess, stalking a classmate, creating the problem, and then coming in with the solution, right? He began breaking into her home. And remember, this is how it all starts, you know, crossing those lines, habitual line crossers. You know, it went from stalking them from afar, or trolling, then to stalking, then to actually breaking into their homes in the middle of the night and just watching, kind of like Stephen McDaniel. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that case. And a lot of these murders happen that way. You know, they're just out there watching their victims sleep, and then the person wakes up, gets startled, and then a fight ensues, and then that person ends up killing the victim. So what he did in this case was he would break into the classmate's residence and move things around. She got so creeped out by it that during class she would ask Bryan, "Hey man, like I don't know what to do. I know somebody's coming into my home and they're fucking with me. They're breaking in, they're moving things around." He's like, "Oh, really? That sounds crazy. You know what you ought to do? You ought to install a security system, cameras and everything." You know what I mean? I'll even set it up for you. I mean, how creepy is that? And if you go back to the whole Dennis Rader thing, that's kind of what he did. He installed security systems. It's just more of like a modern version, right? So everything about Bryan Kohberger is creepy. I mean, if you can show me otherwise, I'll put it right here up on the screen. Show me that he's a good guy that's being framed for this. Damn hips, though. V. Miranda, possible incel. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Samir, do you think down the road when Bryan Kohberger is in death row, he will confess for other crimes in PA to avoid execution? I think it's possible. I don't know. But all of his similarities to Dennis Rader tell me that this could be his first time. Dennis Rader was 28 when he committed his first heinous act, and he killed 4 victims, the Otero family. So I think that maybe Bryan Kohberger was trying to kind of be like a copycat, maybe. He almost has the same initials, right? BK, BTK. Something not quite right with that connection there, including Dr. Ramsland. I think she knows more. I think she could provide a lot of information. It just would not be helpful to Bryan Kohberger. The hell? That's creepy. I mean, it is a good workout. Yeah, I don't think that's the kind of tickling that was going on, Sparky. His educational plan isn't creepy other than his idolization of serial killers. I don't know. I think he just fits the bill. Like every piece of him fits that serial killer path. And I guarantee if you go and talk to people that knew him intimately as a younger child, he was probably doing a lot of sick shit. Exactly. Just like Ted Bundy. V says he wanted to be the hero, the victim, the investigator, and the attorney. Yep. He espoused. I know a ton of serial killers, but it's be disgusting to idolize them. Well, yeah. That's a given. Wonder if he's going to try for a plea now that the motions were denied. Yes. See, now we're getting somewhere. What now? This is huge. This is going to change everything. I don't know what else they have in their bag. You know? That was the rabbit. They pulled the rabbit out of the hat. What else they got in there? Maybe some of those flowers that pop up. They still really haven't provided their timeline, I guess. So they're attacking the sheath. Okay, they failed. Now I guess it'll go on to the timeline. But I don't know what move they have next. I don't know how they're going to attack it. Miranda says, I don't think he will plea. I mean, it depends. I mean, he's facing the death penalty, and that's what we're going to get into in the second half of the hour. On the top of the hour, we're going to hear from Steve himself, Steve Goncalves, and his work trying to further the initiative. And when I say initiative, talking about capital punishment, death by firing squad. How archaic. That's the word that pops into my mind. Hey, what's up? Microwave and Baby Doll. Good to see you. Didn't he lose his job at the university? What was he doing? Security or something? Charles says yes. Yeah, that's true, right? What was it? Heron? With HBDD? J. Ray, those people from his past all came out to say how creepy he was, and some said he wasn't creepy too. I haven't seen any of those. I haven't heard one story where he's not creepy. But then again, I definitely have confirmation bias. You know, whenever I see evidence like DNA evidence that ties in with the timeline, and then also kind of have gone through my own amateur profile, that's when the confirmation bias kind of begins to set in. Because unless you have something that can top that, why even pay attention? That's huge. If you can't attack that, that's it. Attack his timeline, attack the knife sheath, his movements, which are part of the timeline, right? And then just who he is as a person and what he, the things that he's chosen to do and the people who he's chose to surround himself with. You know, people to make him a more prolific serial killer. I think that's what he was aspiring to be. This account, he's just gross. But even more disgusting is that Rex. Oh, Rex Heuermann? I don't know. I feel like they could have been the same. The thing about Bryan Kohberger is I feel like, man, he was going to make everybody, the other serial killers, he was going to make them so proud. And then he fucking left the knife sheath. I think he would have already committed maybe two more killings by now if he wouldn't have forgotten that knife sheath. And that's what he's telling himself every day. But now I think tonight he's going to have nightmares about that fucking firing squad, you know? So I think things are going to change now. Unless they can come in real heavy on the alibi, something that supports it. Maybe somebody that can corroborate it, perhaps. Sparky has a scrub report, 47 in chat, only 19 with a thumbs up. You know what to do. Don't be a scrub. No, they're ready to go. They are raring to go. Okay, so he was fired from his professor's aide job. Thank you, bad actors. Teacher's assistant. Thank you, Miranda. Assistant, and he graded papers and I believe helped in the classroom at a higher level, but had multiple complaints. Yikes. Is that when he was working with Ramsland or no? Oh yeah, Rex is like everything balled into one. He was doing online dark web creepy shit. He was meeting other serial killers in clubs late at night is one of the stories I read. I mean, he's under investigation for possibly being connected to other serial killer cases. The Eastbound Strangler, you know, all the bodies pointing to Gilgo Beach. Like, what the fuck is that? The recent paintings they found with the victims missing shoes, and then the women that were found in the Eastbound Strangler case had their shoes removed. Telling you guys, some of these people are much scarier than we think. At least Ridgway and Ted Bundy were honest. They're like, yeah, I've killed almost 100 people. And your mind can't even wrap your mind around that. Well, at least I can't. It just doesn't register how that's even possible. Actress says he treated female students badly. Okay, guys, hey, thanks, Sparky. We are all caught up on the chat. So we're going to get into the second half. This is going to be Steve talking about basically capital punishment by firing squad.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Jonathan Vigliotti.
We're just looking at the pictures of the people we should be talking about tonight. Your daughter, Kaylee, her best friend, Maddie, Xana in the
Nation.
far right there on the bottom right, and Ethan, her boyfriend. Maybe it's not coincidental, Steve, that all of this flurry of activity recently in the Idaho House overwhelmingly passed legislation that would make the firing squad the first method of execution, not the backup method, not the choice, but the first method of execution, which I think would send shivers down the spine of Bryan Kohberger tonight, knowing that his case is so much harder to win.
Absolutely. You guys want to see a video that I put together? After I watched this video, I was like, wow, he probably is having nightmares of it. So I basically made a video of what I thought his nightmare might look like. So let's put that on the screen here. Ooh, maybe I can share it this way. So I think Bryan Kohberger's nightmare might appear something like this. Ready, aim, fire.
Of the firing squad and the
Something like
plans
that?
for Idaho?
I don't follow it. I help make it. I'm talking to some of these individuals in the state of Idaho. We're definitely being out there. If they need somebody to sit in front of a camera and take a little bit of time to help identify what, I hate to say a victim, but somebody going through this and to rally support around a law. And you don't know it until you go through it, man. This is real and it's ugly. And when somebody kills you while you're in your bed, you haven't done anything to deserve it. And I'll be that person. I'll be that person to stand in front of the camera and drum up some support. And yes, Bruce is the main guy behind the last Bill 37 here in Idaho. So yeah, I've reached out to him. I've spoken with him. I've spoken with even others before and after. And it doesn't even just end in Idaho. I mean, there's other things in the works where maybe some of these individuals don't even stay in the state. Maybe he can keep being a drifter and we can drift him right on to El Salvador or one of these other locations where they can host these monsters and they can be around the people that they look up to.
It's like, what is he talking about?
Steve, I'm happy for you and your family that you got this news today. You deserve good news. You've been waiting a long time. You've been patient. This is nothing anyone can imagine if they're not walking in your shoes. So thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
And thank you. And keep me posted on your efforts. As you said, you're speaking to politicians and those who are making this.
All right, guys, let's go to the chat. Give me a second. Mic check, mic check. All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sparky. Okay, so what do you guys think's next for Bryan Kohberger's defense? I say, I really don't think there's much left. I mean, what else is there? He's already pretty much confessed or admitted to the timeline. He's just kind of giving us an explanation for it. Yeah, I mean, that was me, but this is what I was doing. I wasn't committing a murder. I mean, it's just like Richard Allen, like, hey, yeah, I was out there, but I was just hiking. Thanks, V. Yeah, I got everything set up. The two sleuths, the two Utes, the two what? The two Utes. Sorry, youths. This is up close and personal sleuth. So I don't know. So the fact that they're getting this firing squad and they're getting that all situated, it's like they're getting it primed up specifically for Bryan Kohberger. And that's got to be weighing on him heavy. You know, he might be thinking about negotiating or because I don't know about most, but I know when it comes to Dennis Rader, he was able to kind of make a deal. He was like, if you guys don't put me to death, I'll tell you everything that you want to know. And he came out in court. It was all on record. It wasn't like some strange interview in an interrogation room. He was just out there in front, standing there with his defensive team, and he was just telling it all. I mean, probably not everything, but some very disgusting details. If Bryan Kohberger comes forward and if the prosecution goes to the prosecutor doesn't need the family's permission, but if he goes to the family and says, hey, we're thinking about offering him this deal and they're in support of it unanimously, I think they can make a deal with him if he comes out and explains his motive, his techniques, you know, what was going on with his mind, his psyche, you know, give it all. Miranda says the last time somebody was put to death in Idaho was 2012. Yeah, which is actually not that far off if you think about it. So they don't really do it that often. I think that's more often than most. I think Utah might be another place. The question is Bryan Kohberger actually afraid of the death penalty? I think that he is. If he wasn't, I think he would have already. I think there's a point where you get so deep into the madness that I think it has to go to self-harm, and then you kind of say, nope, I'm not going that route. And then it goes to murder. I think that's the way it plays out. And the death penalty is basically him, you know, losing his life, and I don't think he wants that. Yeah, that was awful, Miranda. I think so, V. A lot of them are learning to circumvent the security measures that are in place. They use coded language and they exploit the way that we're able to interact Even probably through YouTube, there's a way to abuse it. Go into a private chat, and then everything that you're sharing is like coded. Because in the Darren Schillmiller case, he was perpetrating a lot of his crimes on some weird dating app. They didn't give the name of the app, but I'm sure we could find it. They didn't have to go to the dark web or some covert um, application. I mean, it was just right there, just coded. I would assume bad actors, at least his father, right? If I had to guess. Yeah, Sparky, I think they will. I think we could expect a plea deal for him. Yeah, his daughter, what's her name, Roslyn? She's been a big help. If it wasn't for her, I don't know if they would have found those trophies that were buried under his little shed. And that always reminded me of Richard Allen in his little shed. I wonder if they did like some sonar to see if there was anything buried under there. Miranda says his father seemed completely ignorant during the traffic stop. I mean, what was he doing? Like, why did they need his car? They don't need his car. What do they need his car for? Why didn't Bryan just fly over there? You know what I mean? Why did his father need to fly all the way over there and help him drive his car? The only reason for that is to get the car out of that area. Why didn't he just go fly if he wanted to visit his family members? Why didn't he just fly over there? Why is his father flying all the way from Pennsylvania to Washington and then driving all the way back the very next day? Man, they picked the right guy to pin this on. Man. It's like witchcraft almost. Yeah, he'll be on death row for a minute. Good 13 years. There's all kinds of like appeals and things they got to go through. Charles says, nah, it's been said that the father already suspected him by then. I think so too. I mean, the dude's walking around in latex gloves. The entire family knows he just came from Washington State. Their suspect is from Washington State, fits his description. Same vehicle, and now he's walking around his house wearing purple latex gloves. Man, they picked a great patsy. You know, they must have known all these weird things about him. Like, oh, you know, he's going to walk around in latex gloves. It's going to make him look guilty. He's perfect. We're going to set him up real good. I mean, guys, we're talking about a killer who thought he was going to get away with it. And if he wouldn't have dropped that knife sheath, I think he might have gotten away with this. I think we would have seen more victims. And I think he beats himself up over it. And I can't help but kind of laugh about it. You know, there's no laughing matter, but you know, I'm kind of like that kid and you know, that character in Bart Simpson where he's like, ha ha. You know, he's like pointing at him like, you dumbass. Like, thank goodness he was that careless. That's all I'm saying. Because I don't think he would have made that mistake again. That's for damn sure. One thing we've learned about serial killers is they get better each time they target somebody. They like download the data. Yeah, I think I got a quick glimpse of that, Lynn. Lynn's referring to the Delphi case. Miranda, the dad was looking around the car like, dee dee dee. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what he was trying to convey to that officer. He's like, I don't know what's going on. Same with Bryan Kohberger's body language. He's kind of leaning over like, oh, what? I'm just harmless. Do you see how they're chameleons? Go watch Bryan Kohberger in that traffic stop body cam footage. The way he kind of manipulates the way his body is and the way he's just able to manipulate people in real time. It's not just with words, it's with body language, the way you position your body. It's crazy to watch these folks in real time. It's like a damn reptilian shapeshifter. And then compare that video of him being pulled over and his body language to him walking into court or him with those handcuffs and how he's just like, yeah, standing tall. So I think that's why it's good. I always remind you guys when suspects are overlooked early on before they're actually pointed out as a suspect, you have to give them some credit. They play a part in why they were overlooked. They're taking preventative measures. Countermeasures, really. Because he doesn't have a place he could park his car for a month at a time at Washington State University. Also, he would want his car while he was there. Yeah, but that's not a reason to make your dad fly and then force him to drive. Nobody wants their car that bad. And also, the amount of gas that you're paying for, you could just rent a car. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It looks, he looks guilty. For the amount of money that was spent on that trip alone, he could have rented a vehicle for quite some time. And I don't see why he would have to rent a vehicle. His sister's there, his mother, his father. There's probably multiple vehicles there. Makes no sense. They're going to drive that home, too, during the trial. Baldwin is still butthurt that he lost. And Doug Carter called him out. He's trying to save face, in my opinion. Baldwin will never save face to me because he leaked those crime scene photos. Yeah, him and Rosie leaked a bunch of information. But once again, guys, it's not easy to represent a guilty person. It's like picking up a boulder and trying to carry it across the room. You got to get creative. You don't want to use your back. His car was missing a plate from his car. The state he came from only required one. And that matches right with the surveillance footage of the white vehicle. Oh, yeah, not to mention that, Miranda. He had an apartment because we watched them serve a search warrant on it. Remember, that's where they found all the, the tags, the Dickies tag. Yeah, we went over those warrants in detail. If you guys want to go back to those videos, we read the affidavit word for word. Charles says, and the murders were like 9 miles from his house, which is why his family suspected him. Oh, yeah. They knew. The world didn't know, but they knew. All right, guys, this is going to be our 5-minute warning. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I would not make my dad do that. If he wanted to spend time, if my dad lived that far and wanted to spend time with me, I'd buy a plane ticket and I would go fly over there and spend time with him. I'm not going to make him take a 3-hour flight. It might even be longer. 3-hour flight at his age, wake up bright and early, and then force him to drive for 8-9 hours, maybe more at a time, and then to sleep out at some weird campsite. That doesn't seem very nice. And I don't know a father that wouldn't say the same thing. Like, I'm not driving out there. Here, I'll buy you a ticket. End of the story. End of story. What's that, J Ray? Says, I don't think any of that happened, though. Bad actors, after the second pullover, right? You should have known. My dad would have taken over the wheel for sure. Yeah, they had to know something was up. He was putting on the body language quite heavy. He went into shapeshifter mode. He almost snapped his spine. Painter suit. None was found in his apartment. Nope. He went down by that river that was south of Moscow. Whatever he did down there, I think that's where he got rid of a lot of that stuff. And there's a river right there too. So I'm assuming maybe a campsite over there. He just pulled in, threw all his stuff into the fire pit, and put some kind of probably fire starter or some kind of accelerant, and just watched it go up in flames. Maybe walked a little ways down the creek and just chucked it. So I think the blade might still be attainable. They might even be looking for it. So, hey, what's up, Big Country? Good to see you. We're going to get out of here in about 1 minute. He may have talked his dad into it as quality time, or who knows. Can't just park that where people could find it. Yeah, exactly, Jerry. Dad seemed like a normal person. It was Bryan that was suspicious. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember hearing that they were at a hotel or anything like that. I don't know. There's something off. Didn't the sister wasn't she into horror movies and serial killers and stuff like that too? There might be more there, but yeah, from what I see, he's probably just a normal guy. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I appreciate everybody who caught the live stream. Please, if you're part of the replay crew, drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought of today's broadcast. All of you who are subscribers and those of you who took the extra step and became members, shout out to all of you. People who send me donations, I mean, extremely generous. Thank you guys for doing that, supporting my channel. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to sit around playing YouTuber, Mr. Podcast Guy. So I'll keep doing it as long as you guys keep making that possible. But that's going to do it for today's live stream. You guys take care of yourselves. Thank you for tuning in to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. If you're in the Phoenix metropolitan area and you're interested in being a guest here on the Sleuth Intuition channel, please give me a call here at this number or shoot me an email there. I look forward to hearing back from you. Have a great day.